Video 41. May 25, 2011. Mythi. Some friends still do not get details about Nibiru, Hercolubus, Elenin, Planet X, Tyche, etc. Can you patiently explain again about this topic? Please. Well, friends, as you have many names for the same thing. Let's call this system that is approaching only dwarf star from now on. We received reports that the Community Galactica will not slow down the dwarf star for 2012 at that time. For various reasons of coordination of orbital order. There would be a dangerous chain reaction from portal gravity that keeps the stability of the Earth to the Sun. Because the dwarf star is already connected with its presence to all the portals of gravity of all the planets from the solar system as a whole. Portals of gravity are like tunnels of gravitational energy that keeps the planets tied to their suns. When it will pass a beam of the Sun in early September, they will decide whether or not to implement a drastic plan of diversion. Depending on the reaction of the Sun and its influence on the final approach orbit of the dwarf star. If it continues on the actual route on schedule, between September and November this year, they had tweaked the speed, but they put it back into the original pattern. The comet that you call Honda and some others that precede the dwarf star may be destroyed by Pleiadians in case it is diverted from the route by influencing of the dwarf star and consequently attracted by Earth's gravity. It is not important for the balance of the system and can be eliminated without major problems. As I mentioned, the dwarf star emits no light, only radiation. You can spot it with infrared telescopes with certain filters to detect radiation because its surface is very cold and does not emit heat or light in the visible spectrum at the distance it is now. It's almost twice the distance of Earth from the Sun at this time. Depending on location, you can see with the naked eye, a very bright star, lit by your Sun, a little before sunrise up in the horizon. This shining star is the dwarf star. In early September, you will see it as a little sun next to your Sun. And from that, it will grow exponentially in the vision. See, to date, the Earth is running ahead from dwarf star. After September, Earth will be making its bow in orbit, the dwarf star will get closer quickly. In October, it will be facing the Earth, as a large sun that does not shine, it and its planets. We will follow all of the actions of the Community Galactica to communicate to you what is happening. Lunar bases are being evacuated as a precaution, many devices are being removed so there should be a great movement of spacecrafts during these months, here in the solar system and in the Antarctic base. Only the portal of intergalactic transport will remain active on the Moon for transiting spacecrafts. I hope I have managed to clarify the matter. Cindy asks, in an earlier video you mentioned, there are two other Earth-like planets getting ready to go through stages in their development. Where are these planets located? How far along are they in their development? Cindy, these planets are here in your own galaxy, a solar system 70 light-years away. They are colonies of humanoids, very similar to this one. One planet is like your society 3,000 years ago. The other is like 500 years ago. The ethnic groups sown in these two planets are much smaller in number but are very similar to some of the ones sown here. These two colonies are in need of population development, and those who do not stay here in the Earth will be transferred to one of the two, according to their frequencies. Totter asks, you said that the new era will begin December 21, 2012. How will we, ordinary people from Earth, feel this change? How will we find out that it's happened? Totter, the remnants of the old society who are here will fit the new environment over time. This adjustment will be perceived as you start to feel better in the new frequency of the planet. The children who come in this new era will be generated in this new frequency and will have altered DNA to release more power to use the brain. This is time for a society more attuned to the planet, less inequality, and greater solidarity. Tate asks, Mythi, you mentioned your race needed 8,000 years to reach level 1. How are Earthlings doing in this path, meaning how many years did we need? Wouldn't it be better if we all waited another 1,000 years so we could be really ready for level 1? Tate, I guess you did not understood what I said. 10% of the planet after December 2012 will already be at level 1. The planet Earth will enter level 1, and therefore those who can embody here are only those with auras attuned to level 1. You took 12,000 years because many ethnicities here were mixed, many cultures having developed regionally, and many languages having hindered the integration of Terran society as a whole. It is for this reason that those responsible for crops that have reached a certain level of frequency of aura had to transfer these groups to their colonies because the Earth no longer had the conditions for the continued development of these societies. But the Earth has finally managed to have 600 million of a genuinely Terran race for this next step. For you, the development will be easier and faster than it was for us because we had no help as you will have now. Usually everything is much easier for the younger brother, isn't it? Tate asks. You also mentioned that some races can fly and some can communicate telepathically. But none asked if they can move objects with their minds. Telekinesis, is this possible? Yes, of course. We can move objects, but at level 5 in frequency, there is a harmony between physical and mental capacity. We cannot move objects with our mind, bigger or heavier than we could do physically. If you're weak, you can move a few pounds. If you are many who are weak together, you can move a ton. The characteristic of expanding the force beyond your physical limits, you only get at the end of level 6 and during the level 7 of frequency in the third dimension. Danon asks, when can we expect our satellite communications to start failing? Will it happen gradually or in one quick event? Danon, Your satellites can begin to leave orbit and get lost in space when the balance of your magnetic field weakens the balance of centrifugal force. The passage of any large celestial body near the planet can also take away all the orbits of satellites in its line of tangency of gravity. For many of your satellites, NASA will inform you how, will keep them off, so as not to admit that they are out of their orbits. By mid-2012 no satellite should be operational, unless they release others in lower orbits. This should not happen because your space programs have been disabled. Neil asks, many individuals and groups on the internet claim to be in contact with a being called Enki, who you will know was worshipped in Sumer as the god of water, wisdom, and magic. These same individuals and groups currently claim Enki is an extraterrestrial scientist, a benevolent character, who, in his dealings with Earthlings, became fond of us, and ever since has played a big part in the development of the Western civilizations of Earth. Is Enki a real being? Neil, if you ask me for names, I translate the sound of those names, and they mean nothing to me. To answer you, I'd have to know what planet he says he is from to have any real reference to answer. I have no idea who he is, but by your description, he should be a good person. One thing is not correct, there is no god of the water, and that has many more people rooting for you. It's just that no one is some kind of god, only brothers. Antonio asks, you said there are planets 100 times larger than our Sunday. How can the inhabitants of those planets endure the gravity and their own weight? Antonio, there are giant planets, but that does not mean a tremendous force of gravity. The gravity force depends directly on the mass of the planet. These giant planets have compositions generally much less massive, having small cores, with magma expanded to the limit, having cooled almost to the center. You've seen how volcanic rocks are light? The day the Earth cools completely, it will be 3 times larger than it is today, but will have the same mass. That is, the same force of gravity as it has now. Judy asks, my question is about those who manage to survive the disasters and what the governments have planned. Will anyone come to save us? Can we trust people who want us to go with them? Will star beings find us survivors and help us? Can we trust the new elite leaders who survive and want to reboot this society? What should we do, as we will be very vulnerable, especially those of us who have small children? Judy, after all, we and other partners, we are here to help directly. Your surviving elites will no longer have control of the situation. We also will not allow any other non-humanoid race to interfere with the recovery of the new colony. We'll finally get permission to introduce ourselves to you openly. For those who have never believed that you have siblings outside the Earth, it will be an initial shock. But they will get used to the idea and easily adjust their doctrines to accept the truth of universal facts. Do not fight against the remnants of your current government. Simply protect yourselves from them until everything returns to normal with our help. Hatari asks, I'm curious to know if there is another planet is going through the same stage as us. Are there repeaters who are experiencing something similar to us, such as government's tendency to control the population, UFO encounters, as well as tectonic movements, and the storms? Yes, this is a cycle that is always very similar. These planets are also fighting against aggression of societies, are unbalanced, and these societies will go through almost everything that you have gone through this far. It will be difficult for the repeaters to go through everything again, when they are aware of the fourth dimension. They will regret not having better shaped their character to go one step further instead of going down. This is an extremely important opportunity in this change of age, from those who are on Earth who will go far, to those who had to turn back. Try to focus on the importance of this event.